Hello, welcome to Holly and Martin Do Road Safety. Today we are joined by Suffolk County Council's Principal Transport Planner Sharon Payne and Travel Plan Officer Chris Ward to discuss transport planning. Morning, Martin.
Hi, Holly.
Hi, Sharon. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Hi, Holly. Hi, Martin.
Just for our listeners, Sharon, and for me as well, could you explain to me what is transport planning? And Chris, what is a travel plan?
Yeah, sure, Holly. So transport planning is really wide-ranging and covers so many things around travel and transport. No 2 days are the same in our jobs, but mainly it's understanding the link between transport, all the different modes of transport, and how we use our towns and local areas to get around, how we use all the different modes that are available to us, walking, cycling, buses, trains, cars, and how we can use those to get to all of the things that we want to do and how to improve our quality of life. It's also about how transport contributes to growing the economy and how businesses use transport, as well as the environmental impact and how we can use transport to help tackle climate change.
So a lot of different people involved there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And one of the main things that Chris and I work on, along with yourselves, is about changing people's attitudes towards travel and encouraging people to use more sustainable modes, such as walking and cycling, instead of relying on the car for all of their journeys, especially the little ones as well, because that's probably where we can make the biggest difference.
Absolutely. So, Chris, what is a travel plan?
Basically, a travel plan's a long-term management strategy that's put in place. It could either be done on a compulsory basis through a planning requirement, or it could be done through a voluntary requirement.
Right.
But it's basically to sort of encourage sustainable travel. So what like a workplace, school, or say like residential developer are looking to sort of reduce, you would say, sort of single car trips from the site in favour of sustainable modes of transport. So they sort of set like a management strategy that includes targets, objectives, and it's sort of like regularly monitored over a set period of time to say like encourage people not drive to work or not drive to school in favour of like walking, cycling to school. And they normally include measures and incentives to encourage people to adopt what you call as like a modal shift from it. So they could be things like vouchers, training, anything like that to try and encourage this sort of like modal shift that obviously sort of helps increase people's sort of activity that in turn increases their health, and also more importantly at this moment in time improve the air quality in the local area. So if there's less cars driving on the road, there's less emissions in the air, that makes it nicer for everybody to walk, cycle, and everything like that.
Yeah, Chris, you just mentioned the word modal shift, which probably doesn't mean a great deal to the average person in the street, but you've been involving me recently in something called Mode Shift Stars. Can you tell the listeners a bit more about this, please?
Modeshift Stars started off with schools. It's a log where a school or organisation can record all the initiatives that they do to encourage sustainable transport and sort of improve road safety, and keep all the evidence loaded on that and sort of like regularly review it for a set period of time. And if they do very well on the Modeshift Star system, there's an opportunity for the school or workplace or organisation to apply for nationally recognised accreditation that's sponsored by the DFT. At the moment, there's 3 different levels: there's bronze, silver, and gold.
So would you say it's true that it's not something that's onerous on schools, but is great fun for the kids?
It's definitely great fun for the kids. In the schools that I have visited, there are some kids that, say like the junior road safety officers, that would really, really like to get involved with this. There's big overlap with the road safety work that they do and some of the objectives on Motive Stars. I think through a few of the schools have done, there's definitely sort of like links to sort of the air quality. So I think the junior road safety officers will sort of like go out and try to encourage parents to switch off their vehicles outside the school gates.
Lovely. Thank you, Chris. Sharon, why is it important then that we actually plan how we get to school?
Well, Holly, I think it's really obvious sometimes, as with anything that we do, any activity, planning in advance helps to take some of the stress out of it. So understanding how people are going to get to school, by knowing the best routes to take for walking and cycling, planning in advance, or knowing which bus you need to get to go to school just helps with that and helps make it less stressful.
Yeah.
Some of the other things that are really useful to understand, as Chris has said, is that there are health and environmental benefits of understanding your journey, knowing how long it takes, knowing which routes you need to use. We know that, for example, pupils that get more physical activity on their journey to school through walking and cycling have a really good start to the day, and actually that they prepare themselves for the day and they perform better in school.
Oh,
So
right, interesting.
yeah, exactly. So it's not just about, being good for the environment. It's good for the pupils themselves to get that
Yeah.
start at the beginning of the day to do that. So, yeah, and as Chris has said as well, creating good travel habits helps develop good road safety skills and awareness. And
Yeah,
as you
absolutely.
well know, the sooner we start this in children's lives, the better the outcomes. So starting early is really good, and creating those good habits. One of the other things really is that if there are fewer cars on the school run, it makes it more pleasant for everybody to be able to
Yeah.
enjoy their journey to school.
Yeah, it makes the roads a lot safer, I suppose. If there's less traffic on the roads,
Exactly.
hopefully the children will be safer on their way to school.
Yep, completely, Holly.
Chris, can you give us an example of schools you've already worked with and the kind of things you've done?
I can give you a few examples with this. We had Claydon Primary School that implemented a walking bus in their local area to sort of like encourage their pupils to walk to school. In the evidence that was sort of uploaded onto the Modeshift stars, you could sort of see the deputy head teacher, who was the school travel plan champion. He was taking a lead through it, so he's actually leading the children on these walking routes to the school. So that was getting a lot of the people active in the morning, getting more ready for the school day, having a walk in the morning. Exnim Primary School involved their junior road safety officers with their travel, as I mentioned earlier, and also engaged with a new residential development adjacent to the school to encourage safe and active travel. Also link up with some of their anti-idling scheme. I think the developer paid for a banner to got quite a good bit of attention, awards sort of ceremony that Exnin attended. We also had Barrow Primary School that had an initiative that took their pupils out on a public bus. So it was sort of like a school trip to Bury St Edmunds. So it involved the people going onto the bus, paying for their bus tickets, and going on the bus to Bury St Edmunds where they went to, and then catching the bus back to the school as well. So it sort of like taught them a good example of how to use public transport and sort of build skills using later life, and possibly going off to secondary school as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Also, Chris, we hear that there needs to be a lot of people involved to make a big difference to our environment. Can individuals, within their own homes, can they make a difference as well?
Certainly they can. It's sort of small changes, positive actions that can sort of be
Yeah,
undertaken, like make these outcomes. So obviously with walking to school, if it's sort of something that you say like a family are interested in doing, they
yeah,
don't have to do it all at the same time. It could just
no,
be something simple like just making the decision like one day a week that they will either walk to school,
yeah,
or maybe they if they can't sort of walk to school, maybe it's sort of somewhere where they can sort of like park their car at a reasonable sort of walking distance from the school,
yeah,
and they can sort of like walk the rest of the way. So I think there's some schools that run like these schemes called Park and Stride. So if
yes,
they're in a rural area,
yeah,
they can park up at a reasonable distance away and then walk to school. And any of the walking activities they can do will be logged as part of the initiatives. So it's not sort of putting too much pressure on the parents to sort of like walk all the way to the kids to school where it might not be feasible for them.
Sharon, we know that many people want to do the right thing, but some people find it a little bit difficult. How can we persuade people to do what's right?
Well, Martin, I agree. It's a challenge because everybody wants to do the right thing, but sometimes it's finding that opportunity to actually do it. And as Chris has said, it's the small things that actually, make the difference. And people making a pledge or a commitment to try something new is really useful. And one solution doesn't work for everyone or every school, especially where we've got a combination of schools in our towns, but some of our very rural schools as well. So finding the solutions that work for individual schools and individual families is really one of the key things that we can do. That's why when we engage with schools through Modeshift Stars, there's a really wide range of messages and options for schools to chooses their activities and initiatives so that everybody can do their bit. So one of the things that we really encourage schools to do is to review their school travel plan and make sure that they understand what the challenges are at their school, and then decide on the actions that they can put into their travel plan, so that everybody in the school community can take part and do their bit.
Lovely, thank you. So schools can choose individual changes that will work specifically for them.
Absolutely, yes. The Modeshift Stars system is, fantastic. We've used it for a long time, and we really encourage all schools to use it because, for example, a school that I've been working with recently are an eco school. So they've already worked towards eco schools accreditation. So all of that work already counts towards some of the Modeshift Stars work as well. And it's the ethos of their school. They are an eco school, so lots of their activities are kind of focused around environmental protection and improving the local environment, whereas other schools might be healthy schools, so lots of their initiatives might be around physical activity and that kind of thing.
Excellent. Finally, everyone, have you got any funny stories from when you travelled to school when you were young?
Yeah, I mean, I still remember this, and it's quite a few years since I went to school, Holly. But I used to cycle to school from year 5 onwards, really, with my sister and our friends, and it was great fun. We had some really good routes to school. It took about half an hour, so it wasn't too far. But the one thing I will always remember is the time that my sister fell off her bike on the way to school, and accidentally squashed a little lizard that had been sunbathing on the road. Unfortunately, the lizard didn't make it, but that memory will always stick in my mind.
I heard she was quite horrified when she saw what
She was, yeah. I don't know if she's as traumatized as I am, but it was fun. It was great fun.
Chris, what about you?
Not as good as Sharon's, unfortunately, but I always sort of like walk to all the schools that I attended. In secondary school, there was a little sort of like alleyway that we cut down, and we were normally greeted by a little cat down there, and it was sort of a bit of a game between me and my friends to see how far this cat will follow us down the road. I think we were sort of thinking maybe could we try and get him to the bottom of the road, but I think we never managed to achieve that.
Martin?
Yeah, well, apart from cycling to my secondary school with a cello on my back once a week, I wish I'd learnt to play the piccolo. It'd have been a lot easier. But at primary school, when the weather was nice, we used to stop at the park on the way back and have a game of football. And I remember once shooting for goal, and my shoe flew off, disappeared over a fence into a nunnery or a convent. And we've been told by the school never to go around to the convent and ask for your ball back. So I don't go ask for my shoe back either. But when I went to hop all the way home, my mother dragged me back to the convent and made me ask politely for my shoe. The nuns were lovely, and they helped me find my shoe and lots of lost balls as well. So, yeah, great memories.
That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you again, Sharon, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Please feel free to share it with your friends and family. And if you have any questions about the topic discussed today, please find useful links in the description box or email us at suffolkroadsafe@suffolk.gov.uk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye bye.